Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca.
Hello, friends. I am Cindy Thompson, and this is a Resilience Project. This is a space where stories are shared and possibilities are discovered. I invite you to partner with me in cultivating resilience among humans, one conversation at a time. When I first introduce a guest, you might notice that I typically express my appreciation for them being here and to be in conversation. Well, in this episode, Kaleb Dahlgren is joining us, and I need to say that it truly is a gift for Kaleb to be here, just sharing his story. Kaleb Dahlgren beat the odds. Diagnosed with type 1 diabetes at the age of 4, Kaleb was told by his hockey coaches and scouts that he would never succeed in hockey. Instead of defeat, Kaleb used the negativity as motivation. He worked relentlessly and played the highest level of hockey each year of his young career. His own challenges inspired him to create an organization called Dahlgren's Diabeauties. This program uses hockey as a platform to shed light on type 1 diabetes and provide support for children living with this disease. After losing 16 members of his Broncos family and surviving the tragic crash, he continued to give back and help the community of Humboldt to heal. Kaleb received the Canadian Volunteer Award for Emerging Leader of the Prairies in 2018 due to his relentless community work. Graduating from York University with a commerce degree and being named the most outstanding male graduate for varsity athletics, Kaleb is forging his next path as a chiropractic student and keynote speaker. Today, Kaleb is a #1 best-selling author with his recent memoir, Crossroads, sharing his story of tragedy and resilience as a Humboldt Bronco. You will also discover that Kaleb is an inspiring community leader and an advocate for mental wellness and diabetes. I would personally like to dedicate this episode to those who lost their lives in the Humboldt Bronco bus crash, as well as those who are continuing on their healing journey. So Kaleb, thank you so much for joining me today on a Resilience Project.
Thanks for having me. I'm really excited about this.
Well, it is truly an honor. And when I think about a hockey player like yourself who was striving to play a high level of hockey, and in anticipation of talking with you today, was thinking about my 2 brothers who played a lot of hockey. I spent a lot of time at the hockey rink watching them. I felt like this could have been my brothers on that bus, and I can't imagine what you've been through. I'm hoping that you wouldn't mind telling your story again for our audience to hear what your experience has been like after waking up in the hospital and what that was like for you.
Yeah. So I guess for me, waking up in the hospital, I don't remember the first 4.5 days after the crash. I remember waking up in the hospital and being really confused. I had something around my neck and it felt tight, and I was looking around and I thought I was literally dreaming because I saw white and I saw my parents there. I was in a hospital bed and I was like, why would I be in a hospital bed? And to find out that there was a crash and that I lost teammates, and 16 of them at the time. And it was just unfathomable. And for me, it was hard to really grasp it. And I really still didn't believe them. So I said, pass me my phone. And they passed me a phone that did not look like my phone at all. And they're like, here's your phone. I was like, well, this is not my phone. They're like, yeah, it is. And I was like, okay. So I swiped up, looked, and went to Twitter. And the first thing I saw was prayers for Humboldt and Humboldt Strong. And that was when it really kind of hit me how real this was, that I wasn't dreaming. And I still really didn't grasp it fully. I went to physio right after. I had physio appointment about 5 minutes after I woke up. So it was a quick turnaround. And then I had physio come back and still didn't really grasp it until the evening. And that was when it really all kind of flooded in and hit me. And it was really hard, super emotional times, just like asking the questions why and how am I still here when there's a person behind me that passed away, a person beside me passed away. It just didn't make sense. And that was the hard part, was just realizing that. I was going to text my roommate, and then I found out that he wasn't here anymore either. And that's when it kind of clicked even more. I was like, yeah, this is a lot. But I was able to find the positives in this situation and continue to live my life to the fullest for them. So I think that I definitely had survivor's guilt at the start for sure. And in that hospital in the first couple of days, it was really difficult.
I can only imagine, because for any of us, losing one person in our life is very, very difficult. To be together and with your whole team in that experience and lose so many people at one time. And not only were you recovering from a brain injury, but trying to navigate and unpack this experience without having all the pieces.
Yeah, for sure. I suffered a fractured skull, puncture wound in my skull, scalp degloving. So this whole side of my head was shaved off. I have, I guess, severe traumatic brain injury, broken neck, broken back, blood clots, ligament, muscle damage, nerve damage. So I didn't really even know my injuries, to be honest. I never even asked what my injuries were because I really didn't care, to be honest, about it. I was more concerned about the people that aren't here and the 16 that I lost and what happened to them. Why aren't they here? Like all the details I could possibly get to understand a little bit more of the situation and what actually happened. So I didn't really realize my injuries probably until I switched hospitals. That was when I kind of got another assessment and realized all the injuries I had. It was really hard. And I think that I was able to cope with it and accept kind of fast that I'll never get answers for this situation. And it's out of my control too. And what I can control is how I want to move forward and react to the situation and how I want to carry myself, my actions, my work ethic. I think that was when it really hit me, was a couple of days later. I was like, well, I can't be asking why, because there'll never be a why. I just got to continue moving forward, living life to the fullest for those who aren't here.
Yeah, I'm glad that you identified that, because our natural human tendency is to want to wrap it up in a neat box and have some meaning or understanding to this. And you're right. It's one of those random events we couldn't have possibly predicted. And your brain needs to kind of catch up. So in your language, I can hear the healing that's been happening for you.
I've been really in a great headspace for a long time now. And it's been really nice to be in that great headspace. And I think that life is too short to be stuck in one place. And I've never really wanted to ever get stuck in one place. And I've always tried to learn, to grow, to view the situation from different perspectives and see how it fits into my beliefs and values. And so I think that moving forward in life and having been dealt situations in my past before this crash also helped me as well to be more resilient and to come back stronger than ever too.
Yeah. Can you tell us a bit about what had prepared you just to handle whatever might come along in life?
Well, I think at the age of 4, I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. And that was one of the main things in my life where I had to find the positive over negative. As a type 1 diabetic, you get poked with needles at least 5 times in your fingers, and then at least 5 times with needles in your leg, arm, belly, bum. And so that was one of the situations where I had to learn to find the positives over negatives at a very, very young age and become way more mature than the rest of my peers, because I had to manage my body, like keep active. I also had to make sure that whatever I was doing, it was smart and calculated. And I'd say I had to really grow up fast with that aspect. And then I ended up losing one of my teammates at a very young age, and a personal trainer of mine at a very young age when I was 13. And both of those were super critical pieces in my life to really understand death and just how fragile life is, and to really make the most of the life that we have. Like, you're never given a day tomorrow. You just got to make the most of the day today. So I think that was another big stepping stone into me as a person and developing. And then when I was 16, I moved away from home. And at the time, my dad was severely sick. And while I was gone, actually, my mom texted me saying he's not going to make it. And I rushed back home after a game there in Tisdale and went and saw him in the hospital. And the doctors literally thought this was his last day. Living away from home at 16 and having that on your mind is hard enough as it is, especially when we're such a close family. So yes. I've dealt with loss of stuff beforehand that has prepared me. And then also like being a diabetic and being told, no, you can't do this, you can't do that, or you should hold off because of your diabetes. So I've had lots of situations in my life where I've had to be resilient and I've had to battle back. And that was another one where obviously grander scale and a lot different. And you really can't prepare for that. But I feel like what I've been through in the past has definitely helped mold me into the person I am today.
Undoubtedly. I can really appreciate that when you go through different losses like that, you learn that you can also get through that, that you don't stay in that grief forever, but it's still significant. And do I understand that your dad ended up being okay?
Yeah. No, he is still here today, which is great. He's on about 30 pills a day, I'd say, 30 medications. But at the end of the day, he's still here and he's enjoying it and he's living life to the fullest. And that's all you can ask for.
Wonderful. I'm glad to hear that. So you've written this book, Crossroads, your memoir. Tell me what this book has done for you in writing this.
It's been a cathartic journey, to be honest. It's been really great just to reflect on all the people who've supported me in my life. I've had so many great supports with my parents, my family, my friends, teammates, coaches, teachers. I've honestly had amazing supports, even billets too. And so I really looked back on that as I was writing the book, and just I'm so grateful for everything that I've had. And then even after the crash too, how much support there was around the whole world, not even just in Saskatchewan or Humboldt, but the whole world really came together and rallied around the Broncos. And that was something super special. And it kind of made me more even aware of how much other people need support too in their life, and that they're often forgot about at times. And in the hospital, especially, there's a woman in her room at one point, and she only had one visitor the odd time. And we'd have a hallway full of visitors lined up. And that was when it really hit me. She was going through her own tragedy in her life. And we were going through our own tragedy, but she wasn't getting nearly enough support. And so now I'm way more aware, and I want to bring more topics to light that people need support in too. And so this journey of writing was cathartic. I was able to reflect and put together pieces that I didn't know, especially within that 4-day frame that I lost. And I think for me, it's also really nice to memorialize the 16 too who aren't here, and to at least put my thoughts to paper so people knew what I thought about them. And lots of questions are answered in that book too. And that was another part that was really nice for me, was because I've had lots of people reach out, ask questions, which there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Sure.
But I think in the book, I'm able to express how I feel about certain situations. And I think also on top of that, people can take something away from that and understand me better, understand the situation better from my perspective. And then lastly, it's only one out of the 29 from that bus that day too. So there's lots of other stories too, and I'm looking forward to hearing those as well. And it's not like the Broncos book, it's just a Bronco book. And I want to make sure that that was out there, and that people know that it is just my view and my viewpoints, and everyone has their own viewpoints too on the situation, how they want to move forward from it too. But this was really great in the healing process for me.
I bet, because I can imagine just the writing and taking the time to put your thoughts to paper, and what would you want to articulate. I understand from some of the other guests that I've had on, they're authors as well, who have found that in their writing as a process of working through and understanding themselves better. Is there anything that's kind of surprised you in this journey about yourself? Oh,
definitely that there's strength in being vulnerable. As a hockey player and male, especially with those two in mind, you really adequate strength to physical, and just physical strength where you're looking jacked. You got the rock solid abs, big arms, not really to vulnerability. And I think that there's so much strength in being vulnerable. And I really found that by writing the book and opening myself up to the whole world, which is scary in itself forever. And to just put my thoughts on paper. And I had it in my phone notes. I had quite a few of those perception notes in my phone, but I didn't think I was ever going to share it with the world. I didn't even share it with anybody. It was just in my phone. And so to actually put it on paper and share it with the world was definitely me opening up and being vulnerable. But there's also so much strength in that and healing. And I think that the ability to do that is super powerful. And I really would say that now going through this process, I have a lot more respect for authors that do open up about their challenges in their life too, and the stuff that they've gone through. So I think I've gained a new perspective from that.
I love that. I hope that others can hear the phrase strength and vulnerability. That's powerful. Do you still get together with some of the other surviving players?
Yeah, we do. We get together every summer. We try to get together as a group. We've gone to Vegas, Edmonton, and that was in our 2018 year. 2019, we went to Kelowna. 2020 got canceled, so we met up on Zoom. And then 2021 here, we're hoping to plan something. We kind of want to wait until everyone's vaccinated or has opportunity to get vaccinated first. Then we'll kind of get together. So it's looking like an end of a summer type of thing. But yeah, we're planning that right now. So really looking forward to that. We keep in touch in a group chat, and it's nice to have that support.
I'm curious because one of my other guests, Dr. Rob Lee, spoke about when veterans have gone to war together. Then after that experience and that trauma of what they have gone through, they come back, but they're often posted to different places. And it's like nobody really understands what we've been through. Mm-hmm. And so there's a feeling of isolation. And so he spoke about the value of community, the value of having others who understand a similar experience, even if it's not the same to what you've been through. But this bus crash was so unique. It's not like anybody else is going to get this other than those other fellow players. Tell me what it's like when you get together and what that brings for you.
Yeah, it brings out a lot of emotions, especially when we first all really got together in Edmonton and Vegas in that 2018. It was hard because we didn't have our year ender, which you normally have with your team. It's like a year end to get together. And we didn't have that. So that was kind of our year ender, was being in Edmonton and Vegas together, which is difficult because you miss the other people who should be there. And you still try to enjoy it, but you're still missing that piece. And that was the hard part about it, I think, for us, was that we had those missing pieces, but we still found fun in each other. And we still had great lighthearted conversations and fun times too. And so I think that it does go away in a sense when you are with them, and it feels back to team, family, and you are missing part of your family for sure, but you still do have a piece of your family with you, which is another nice aspect, because it's nice to have all of us still here. And I wish there was more, but there could have been a lot less. And so I'm being grateful for everybody that is here too. And I want to see them all succeed in life and have the best life possible. I truly do. I want them to chase their dreams and passions and enjoy life to the fullest. And they have been. So it's amazing to see that.
A healthy perspective. And I just want to point out to our listeners, I can hear the work you've been doing. I can hear the positive message. I love the encouragement, Kaleb. And I'm just being mindful. This is 3 years after, right? Mm-hmm. So I want people to maybe learn from you, Kaleb, on how you got here. What have been some of your resilience pieces that have helped you process, work through, and get to this perspective that you're at right now?
Oh, I'd say there's quite a few. I took a major approach, and since I've been through quite a few things in my life, I've learned how to cope and deal with stressful situations or situations that may put us out of alignment. And for me, a couple of things is finding the positive over the negative and focusing on that. And even in the hospital, one of the only positives when I woke up was that I was still breathing and here. And I didn't even know about the support around the world. I had no idea. All I saw was my parents. That was it. That was the only thing, was that I'm here and still breathing. And then the next day, positive was that I have so much support in my life and that I am able to get through this. And then the next day, I was able to take a step and actually walk. And so it was just trying to focus on those positives and get that 1% every day a little bit better. Then another aspect of it was to focus on the things I can control too. And I kind of alluded to this earlier, but I couldn't even control the semi-driver. I couldn't control where I was sitting, where others were sitting, or even my injuries for that matter, or who made it, who didn't make it. But I only could control moving forward from this, how I want to react to a situation, what I wanted to do, how I wanted to treat others. And those are like really basic things, but it's hard for people to focus on those.
Yes.
We get caught in the stuff that we don't know. We ask why questions and try to find answers for a long time and get stuck on that why. But for me, I was focusing on the things I could control and not asking those why questions and accepting that there will be no answers for those questions. And I'm okay with that. And I think that's the tough part for people to get to, is that kind of end to the acceptance. And then lastly, I was enjoying the grind, and we all have our own grind, whether that's work, school, relationships, sports, we all have our own grind, and to enjoy it, because our life could end tomorrow. And why wouldn't we try to enjoy everything we have in that moment, even if it's mundane or boring, to just enjoy it and find the positive in that time. So I'd say those three were probably one of the bigger pieces for my healing journey. But there's tons of other stuff too, like just having gratitude for the situation, doing mindfulness, sleeping, being with people, opening up about my thoughts and beliefs to people. So I did tons and tons of different things that have really helped me heal. I think have helped me become the person I'm today, for sure.
Whoa, that's quite a list. For those that might be just beginning their journey, they've maybe just come through something very difficult. Lots of people are still trying to figure out this pandemic and what they feel about it. So I think there's a lot there that people could take away from it. And what I really want to encourage people as they maybe hear that list of things is that, like you're saying, one day at a time, to be focusing on those things you can control and to really honor that it is a journey and that you didn't figure all that out in the first week or the first month. It's been kind of a practice, from what it sounds like, over time, that you're now here 3 years later with this beautiful insight and a practice of resiliency. Would that be a good way to put it?
Yeah, no, it would be a good way. And I also think another thing I would like to mention was to put myself in the shoes of people who weren't here. And I know it's a kind of a dark topic, but if I wasn't here on this earth, how would I want the survivors to live their life? Would I want them to be stuck in a negative path and to not be happy and to be struggling? No, not at all. I want them to be happy, to be thriving, to live out their passions and dreams, to find love and to enjoy everything that life has to offer and to not take a second for granted. And so I've thought of that lots, and I put myself in that shoes. So I've tried to mold that for myself in my life and to honor those who aren't here and to make the most of it for them, but also for myself too, because you never know when life is gone. And so I try to live my life to the fullest every day. And I did that before the crash, but now I have so much more reason to do so after too.
Each time you speak about it, it's a way of really bringing those teammates with you to honor the lives they have lived and to, like you're saying, do the best you can each day, knowing that that's what you would have wanted for anybody else if it was reversed.
Yep.
Yeah. A question that's still coming to mind for me, and I'd love to ask Kaleb, is when athletes play such a high level of sports and it's such a big part of your life, have you found something, a way of working out, a way of finding a place for that energy that you might have poured into hockey?
Yeah. So I was able to commit to York University before the crash verbally. And then after the crash, they still offered the spot and said that they could come this fall, next fall, 5 years down the road, 10 years down the road. As long as I want to be aligned, I have a spot there. And so that was something that really just meant the world to me. And I worked super, super hard. And I ended up going there fall of 2018. So a couple months after the crash. And the doctors were telling me that I shouldn't go. I'd fail out if I went, go down a really rough path and have a bad lifestyle. But I thought, why not give it a shot? Because at the end of the day, if I don't try, then I'll never know. And the worst that could happen is the doctors are right. But the best that could happen is that I proved them wrong and proved people who believe me right. And so I thought, let's just go for it. And so I went for it. But with the hockey aspect, I wasn't cleared for contact. And so I had to practice and work out with the team. I never was able to play a game, but I was practicing working out. And so, like you said, it was difficult because I'd go out for practices and I'd be faster than some of the guys on the team in the drills, where I'd be looking really good. And the coaches and players would be like, oh, you should be playing. You're looking great. But they didn't know the other side where my brain image looked terrible and horrendous. And I shouldn't even be able to walk, talk, or remember my name based on the image. So the fact that I was able to do that in itself was what doctors deem as a miracle, but it still didn't make sense. And I had no symptoms. I was excelling on tests. I was breaking records on my tests, passing old scores I had before. So it just didn't make sense. So I ended up going to get another scan of my brain. So I thought, okay, maybe this is just a wrong image. Maybe it's someone else's image of their brain. And maybe I did have a brain injury. I was acting weird in hospital, and I do have 4 days of post-traumatic amnesia, but maybe there's something along these lines. So when checked, and sure enough, the same image came back. And that was my brain, was just how severely injured it was. that I was in this miracle bubble, they call it, and that it could pop anytime if I was to hit my head again. And so
scary.
I live with that. Yeah. So I live with that. And I think it can apply to other athletes though, because in sports, we get concussions that take us away from the game when we least expect it. And it wasn't really our choice of going out. It was due to injuries, and not even just concussions, but other injuries too. And for me, accepting that was hard, but I found a way to give back still with the team by taking on a strength and conditioning role as our strength and conditioning assistant. I was also head recruiter for our team. So I was able to recruit players, develop a new package of videos. I did tons of work with that, talked to lots of players too. And then I also got involved with our York community as well. So I volunteered with Heroes Hockey, which is a program for underprivileged children. Yeah, I became a student ambassador. There's team representative for the Varsity Athletics Student Council. And I was heavily involved in many other aspects of giving back externally too, with my own mentorship program, national ambassador for Junior F, and lots of other diabetes work. But I think for me, I wanted to really just succeed in every other aspect. So I'd be the best version of myself and try to have excellence, in my words, in academics, athletics, community, relationships. I wanted to excel in all those areas. And obviously I couldn't play on Friday and Saturday, but I still wanted to be a leader within the team and still motivate the guys and still be that positive influence. Even though I couldn't really be there on the ice for Friday and Saturdays, I still want to be a leader away from those games and everywhere else. So during practice, in the dressing room, during workouts, I wanted to be that leader.
That's a lot of things you're involved with. I really appreciate hearing what you've poured yourself into and that you still get to be connected. I almost get the feeling that you get a sense of team still by being part of it in that way. For
sure. I do 100%. And it's weird to act as the liaison between the players and coach, where I wasn't really a player because I wasn't playing per se, but I really wasn't a coach because I wasn't really coaching. And I was doing that recruiting role, which is in the middle. And so it was really cool spot actually, where I was able to develop such a great relationship with my coach, and we built such a great trust and bond. But then I also had that great relationship with the players too, where I was able to hang out with them, spend time with them. My roommate was on the men's team. Both of them were on the men's team. And so I became really good friends with them too. And I think that I had the best of both worlds at that time. And I was also able to succeed academically too, and help other guys succeed as well. So I think that I really tried to take on the role of just being the best person I can be away from the games and help the team in any capacity.
I bet that you have a great deal of credibility on that team in motivating, encouraging. I can't think of a greater leader that they'd want to listen to.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know. I'd say that there's definitely lots that I have to learn still. And I think that they have definitely taken some stuff away from me though too, which is great. And I think with every team, there's leaders on all teams and everyone leads differently. And so my style of leadership is one way, and there's other ways too that people can lead.
Well, I appreciate you saying that, but I just think there's a sort of a credibility that comes from experience as well in what you've been through. And I can hear the message that you would give people. So what's next for you?
Well, I'd say next is I graduated here on Sunday, finished my last final. So I unofficially graduated. I guess I graduate in June here, but hopefully chiropractic studies is next up for the fall. I've been in an application process so far, and we'll hear back here at the end of May if I got accepted or not for this fall. And I'm really looking forward to that. That's my passion, and I really want to help others. And I know it's fuel for my soul. Truly, to give back is fuel for my soul. So if I'm able to help people live a healthy and happy, pain-free lifestyle through chiropractic, I think that's a perfect spot for me. So I've dealt with injuries, I've dealt with pain, mental, physical, and emotional pain. And so I really want them to feel their best selves and to create a relationship with all these people that come into my office.
That's a great aspiration. Do you think you would have been doing this had the accident not happened?
I honestly think I would have. When I was just a teen, I went to a chiropractor, and that was when I first really fell in love with it. I was 13. And I had issues with my back as a child, lower back issues, my entire kind of hockey career up till about 13. And that was when my life really changed and my pain went away and my passion kind of came out. I was like, this is so cool. I became intrigued with the human body, loved it. And so that was definitely one of them. And I know a principal was on the list too. Even physiotherapist was on there too. I just really wanted to do something that could really help others and to make an impact on their lives and to hopefully cultivate a better future.
Yeah, so that theme has already been there and well planted in you long before this. And even a desire to help people. Like I had wondered earlier in our conversation if because of the accident that motivated you to want to make a difference for others. But that's been in you from the beginning.
Yeah, it has for sure. I'd say even as a young kid, I'd go and volunteer at my parents' care home, and I played with the residents and just play games, socialize with them. And they're all different shapes and sizes in the care homes too. And I loved it. It was just great bonding with people and connecting with them and just putting a smile on their face. And for me, that's one of the things I really enjoy in life is putting a smile on other people's faces.
Wow, I love that. We're very lucky to have your desire to help others. And I want to mention you have a charitable organization for diabetes. Is that right?
Yeah, it's not a nonprofit yet. Right now, just a mentorship program for type 1 diabetic children. And I actually created my season in Humboldt. So in 2017, it was one of my dreams I had. I thought of it when I was 16. I ended up helping one of my buddies with his type 1 diabetic journey. He just got diagnosed. I helped him through it. And I just gave him tips and tricks and was always by his side. He's like, you really helped me a lot. And I was like, yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And I thought of it more and I was like, I could really help other people with their diabetic journeys. Why aren't I doing this? So I ended up talking to my parents and they're like, yeah, you gotta wait until you're done high school. That's a lot. So I waited until I was done high school and I still wanted to help out and moved to play junior A in Notre Dame. It's a town in Wilcox, which is 400 people, which really isn't that big. And so I played there for 2 years. And in my 19-year-old season, I just still didn't feel right. And I wanted to do this program so bad. So I ended up asking for a trade to a bigger center. And I was fortunate enough to end up in Humboldt where I could start my program called Dahlgren's Diabeauties. And it was awesome. I got to bring a type 1 diabetic and their family out for a pregame meal at Johnny's Bistro, which is a restaurant in Humboldt. And then they'd come out to the game and get complimentary tickets. The Diabeauty would get to wear a jersey, watch warm-ups, and then the Diabeauty would participate in a ceremonial face-off with me and the captain of the other team. And then afterwards, I'd meet with them upstairs, chat with them about diabetes. And then I'd go to their school, do a school presentation. And then lastly, they get into their Facebook group chat with all the other Diabeauty families. And so I want to create a community and do something that I would have liked as a child. And I think for me growing up, I felt alone. I had lots of questions, but I never would really get true answers. And the doctors only know so much, especially if they don't have diabetes. It's a lot harder than if they do. And so for me, there's some questions like, what would I do if I went camping on the weekend? What do you do during games when your blood sugars go high or low? What activities make your blood sugars go high and low during sport? How you tell someone in a relationship about your diabetes? Just these little things that I wanted to know, but I didn't get answers for. So I just learned. And so I wanted to create this so that people can know that they can pursue their dreams and passions. And these children have someone to talk to about this and ask these questions and be there for support when times do get tough. Because being a diabetic is a 24/7 disease, and it's not just something that you can push to the side. So it is life-threatening, and you need to be on 24/7 with it.
This really speaks well to resilience, the way that you are creating community, even for people with diabetes, so that you're not alone. And the benefit of having someone to look up to or help you through that, maybe even an older teen or a young adult, sometimes that's received differently than just learning from your parents what you need to do. To know that another teenager has gone camping and this is how you can navigate it.
Yep. No, 100%. And I think it's really great for them to even bounce ideas off me too. Like, what do you think of this? Or how do you drink? Because everyone's at that age when you get to like 16, 17, 18, everyone wants to drink and all your friends are drinking, but how do you drink? Being safe and smart about it. And I think that I'm able to hopefully help them throughout these times through experiences I've learned, and then also how to live their life enjoyable, but also to not let diabetes manage them, or they manage their diabetes, but they don't let it manage them.
That's a great slogan. I wish the listeners could see your face when you talk about your charity, because you just light up when you talk about helping others, not just in that case, but each time you talked about the ways in which you're involved in things that are making this world a better place, you just completely glow.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And I think that is my why on this earth too, is to truly help others or have a positive impact on this earth. And even with the book, that was the whole goal, was to help others throughout their own challenges by sharing my story, and then also to hopefully turn something negative into something positive for others. They can have their own healing too throughout the book.
Well, I hope they're going to read it, because I think that you've got a lot of wisdom to share, and there is value in hearing how somebody else has navigated some really hard experiences to help us have insight and a bit of knowledge on how we might want to navigate it, because it's not a one size fits all, but there's certainly some themes that can be key to our wellness strategies.
Yep. Like you said, everyone grieves differently. And I came to learn that, especially right after the crash, and just how everyone does heal differently. And that's completely fine. And I think it's good to accept that and to know that there's no right way to heal and there's no wrong way to heal either. And that it isn't linear, and it will come in waves sometimes, and that's okay too. So I think that people need to understand that what maybe I did isn't maybe what works best for them. But at the end of the day, everybody heals differently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I appreciate your mentioning that. Well, Kaleb, is there anything else that you can think of that you would want our listeners to hear?
Honestly, I think just to be grateful for everything that there is, and it could be always worse. And I really truly mean that, because even looking across the other side of the world, let's say for Africa, for example, you have a family of 5 whose mother works 12 hours a day in a field to just get enough money to pay for their food for that day. And that's it. And their conditions are horrible. So we're very fortunate even to have this podcast and be on this podcast right now. We are extremely fortunate to have the life that we have and to actually enjoy the little things too. And I found beauty in even going and sitting and looking at the stars in the sky, or even looking at the water along the river, sitting on rocks. So I think that finding the beauty in little things is super special. And that was one of the things that really did help me heal too, was having that gratitude and being grateful. So I had a gratitude journal. I wrote down 3 things I was grateful for every day. And then also just find the small moments in life to be precious, because life does come fast. And so to really enjoy it while we have it.
Yeah, great wisdom, because we only have today for sure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you got that one right.
Well, Kaleb, thank you so much. It really is a blessing having you here today. And I have no doubt that our listeners are going to get a number of gems from your shared knowledge today.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for having me on here. I'm completely honored you thought of me, and really happy to be on this.
Well, I wish you all the best in your career. I have no doubt you're going to have some very happy chiropractic patients in your future.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. Really do appreciate that.
My pleasure. Kaleb has been working on his resiliency practice since a very young age. It is often on our reflection that we realize that we've been growing our resiliency over time, allowing each life experience to help us grow stronger. Whether it was getting diagnosed with diabetes at the age of 4 or recovering from a traumatic bus crash, Kaleb has been developing his formula for bouncing back. Highlighting some of the initial steps to moving forward, Kaleb homed in on what he could control and an ongoing practice of gratitude. He reminds us that in our resilience practice, we are discovering which things to let go of, while also choosing which new practices to add in. An example would be to assess what he has control over and working toward a place of acceptance, no longer asking why. Adding in a practice of gratitude, mindfulness, connecting with his close community of friends and family, and learning to open up and share his thoughts more. In other words, finding strength in being vulnerable. Kaleb has also mastered the art of reframing, in seeing another side to the picture. Even following devastation and loss, he has found purpose and meaning to much of what he's involved in today. One of my previous guests, Dr. Doug Walker, also referred to this practice as finding a more helpful way to look at challenges or circumstances. Although hockey no longer takes the front seat in Kaleb's life, you all picked up on his passion for helping others. In fact, he named it as fuel for his soul. With a long-standing desire to support humans on their journey, Kaleb seems to have tapped into his special gift very early on in life. It is in recognizing a need in others and being able to offer our support that we discover something bigger than ourselves. For those of you who have been following this podcast, you will know that I love to leave a few reflection questions. So if you're driving, you might even want to pull over and ask yourself, do you have a negative story that has kept you stuck or prevented you from embracing a new challenge? What is one courageous step you could take today? And in the words of Kaleb, if you don't try, you'll never know. Thank you for listening to this episode of A Resilience Project. We would not be doing this podcast without you. If you or someone you know has an inspirational story or is helping to build resilience in their community, please email me at cindy@aresilienceproject.com. In fact, email me either way. I would love to hear from you. My hope is to feature an episode periodically on your letters of resilience. I'm very interested in hearing your story of how you have tackled hard things and what worked for you. With your permission, I hope to share some of these stories along the way with our listeners. Also, check out my website, aresilienceproject.com, to learn more about our amazing guests. Your presence here is important because together we are cultivating a village of resilient individuals. You are creating a space for their stories to be shared and a sacred space for learning to occur. I also have a favor. I would love for you to go to your preferred podcast platform, rate and review the podcast so that we will know how we're doing. I also would like to express my gratitude to the amazing team of volunteers that have jumped on board to support this project. You will find each of those beautiful people on my website on the team page. As you go about this week, I invite you to think about one way that you can continue to grow your resilient muscle. What is one thing you can start with today? See you next week.
Ever find yourself waiting endlessly at a big box pharmacy, feeling like just another number? At Tablet Pharmacy, they provide the personalized service you deserve. They offer free delivery and blister packaging options to make managing your medications easier than ever. Check their competitive prices online at tabletpharmacy.ca